Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating, kind of quiet cultural shift that's happening right under our noses. For decades, the conventional wisdom has basically been that Americans and Europeans live fundamentally different lives, right? Like they're separated by this vast cultural ocean. But when we actually look at the data, the everyday trends, and the literal street-level reality, we uncover a pretty surprising truth. Europeans are actively adopting 12 distinct American ways of life, and they're weaving them seamlessly right into their daily routines.
Okay, so let's set the stage by looking at the stereotypes we're all intimately familiar with. When we picture traditional Europe, the image that pops into our heads is deeply historic. We think of beautifully compact, highly walkable cities. We imagine formal cafe cultures where people just sit for hours over tiny little espresso cups. And we picture a really heavy reliance on incredibly punctual train networks. Contrast that with classic America, which is a culture famously built around the open road, massive highways, unapologetic suburban convenience, and ultra-casual dining. Historically, these absolutely felt like two completely separate worlds, literally two different ways of designing a human life. But as we're going to see, the boundary between these two lifestyles is rapidly dissolving, and the habits crossing that border are definitely not what you might expect.
Here's a quick roadmap for how we're going to break this down today. 1. The surprising cultural shift. 2. Casual food and coffee. 3. Convenience and space. 4. Experiences and entertainment. And finally, 5. The new cultural exchange.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the surprising cultural shift. To truly get what's happening here, we have to draw a hard line between just buying stuff and actually adopting a lifestyle. Look, it's incredibly easy to buy an imported American product. Buying the latest smartphone designed in California or going to the theater to watch a massive Hollywood blockbuster, that's just basic surface-level globalization. But the source material reveals a much deeper sociological shift. Europeans aren't just consuming American products, they're completely rewriting their daily scripts. Think about the difference between just buying that American smartphone versus fundamentally changing how you navigate your city, how you order your food, and how you schedule your weekend because of the convenience that smartphone mindset represents. We're talking about deep-rooted shifts in daily habits. It's an evolution that transforms a standard Tuesday afternoon errand run into something that looks decidedly American.
Which takes us to our second section, casual food and coffee.
There is some serious cultural whiplash happening in the European hospitality sector right now, and we can see it clearly through our first 3 American habits. Habit number 1, the American-style brunch. Historically, a European breakfast was a super quick, functional thing. A pastry, an espresso, and boom, you're on your way. But today, breakfast has morphed into a massive weekend event. Cities from Madrid to Berlin are packed with spots serving avocado toast, towering stacks of pancakes, and bottomless drip coffee, turning late mornings into sprawling social gatherings. Then we have habit number 2, the explosion of casual dining. The old-school tradition of a formal, multi-course meal at a very specific set hour is totally giving way to flexible, relaxed burger joints and casual spots where you can eat exactly what you want, whenever you want. And that leads perfectly into habit number 3, extreme personalization. Imagine the absolute bafflement of a traditional mid-century Parisian waiter if someone asked for a meal with sauce on the side, substitute the fries for a salad, and hold the onions. I mean, that level of customization used to be considered almost offensive. But today, the American expectation that the customer is the ultimate architect of their meal has been enthusiastically embraced all across the continent.
And that actually brings us to habit number 4, which is honestly a wonderfully fascinating piece of irony. America borrowed a huge amount of its coffee culture from Europe. And now Europe is borrowing some of America's modern coffee habits right back. It's a huge full-circle moment. Europe essentially invented the traditional cafe, a place to sit quietly, reflect, and sip from a tiny, delicate porcelain cup. But if you look at the streets of European capitals today, you'll see the undeniably American model taking over. People are power walking, clutching massive 24-ounce paper takeaway cups. They're ordering iced coffees in the dead of winter, asking for pumps of vanilla or caramel syrup, and even hitting up drive-through coffee windows. Even the physical layout of the cafes has changed. They're adopting that American laptop culture where big tables and power outlets essentially invite you to sit and work for hours. The espresso purists might protest, but this modern, high-volume, highly customized American coffee habit has spread like wildfire.
Let's move on to Section 3, convenience and suburban space.
This is where we see a massive shift in the actual physical footprint of European lives. We can trace this through a changing weekend routine, which covers our next 3 habits. Historically, a European Saturday meant living in a dense city center apartment, stepping outside and walking from specialized shop to specialized shop. Visiting the local butcher, the independent baker, the neighborhood produce stand. But today, we see habit number 5 taking hold, a surging desire for the American-style suburb. There is a huge premium being placed on detached houses, private yards, and personal driveways. And right alongside that suburban space comes habit number 6, the big box mega store mentality. Instead of spending 3 hours walking to 5 different specialized shops, European families are increasingly just hopping into their cars to hit a massive one-stop warehouse on the edge of town where they can grab groceries, electronics, and clothing all in one go. Finally, this deep desire for seamless convenience brings us to habit number 7, the drive-thru. Pedestrian errands are actively being replaced by the uniquely American concept of literally never leaving your vehicle. Drive-thru fast food is absolutely booming, and in many European countries, we're now seeing a rapid expansion of drive-thru pharmacies and bakeries. Busy families are voting with their wallets, and for sure, they are voting for speed.
Next up, Section 4, Experiences and Entertainment.
This shift in how space and time are used is totally reimagining free time, bringing us to habit number 8, the Great American Road Trip. Traditionally, Europeans traveled for leisure by booking a highly structured train or plane ticket for a carefully planned city break. It was 100% about the destination. But recently, there's been a profound shift toward this deeply American romanticization of the open road. Young Europeans are packing up their cars, ditching the strict train schedules, and just embarking on long, unstructured drives down the Amalfi Coast, through the rugged Scottish Highlands, or deep into the Norwegian fjords. They're pulling over at random roadside attractions and fully leaning into the philosophy that the journey itself is the vacation. It's this incredible embrace of spontaneity and automotive freedom that honestly feels like it was pulled straight out of a classic American novel.
And when they aren't out on the open road, Europeans are transforming their private spaces into these comprehensive entertainment sanctuaries. Habit number 9 is the home fitness revolution. Rather than commuting to a crowded community gym, millions are adopting the American trend of outfitting a spare room or a garage corner with home equipment, guided by high-tech workout apps. It's all about having ultimate control over your environment. This flows directly into habit number 10, home entertainment. Large cinematic TVs, complex sound systems, and a dozen streaming subscriptions mean you don't have to brave the cold or the crowds to have a premium cultural experience. You just bring the theater home. And guys, we absolutely cannot ignore habit number 11, the spectacular rise of Halloween. While its ancient roots might be Celtic, the modern, highly commercialized version of Halloween is a pure American export. Just a couple of decades ago, Halloween was barely a blip on the radar in countries like Germany or France. Today, it is a multi-million euro industry. European homes are now getting decked out in elaborate yard decorations, enormous pumpkin displays, and costume parties that would rival literally anything you'd see in an American suburb in late October.
And all of this brilliantly illustrates our 12th and final adopted habit, the one that really ties all this consumption and lifestyle change together. It's the work hard, play hard mindset. Perhaps the most profound American influence in Europe isn't a physical product at all, but rather this specific psychological attitude. It's this intense drive to build something, to embrace entrepreneurship, and to chase massive career ambitions, while at the exact same time fiercely protecting your personal freedom and off-the-clock life. Think about your own work-life balance for a second. Historically, European work culture was often about stability, steady hours, and working to live. The American influence injects a serious hustle culture, but Europeans are adapting it into this really fascinating hybrid. They're taking that intense American entrepreneurial ambition, but they're combining it with their statutory 4 to 6 weeks of guaranteed vacation time. They want to hustle like an American tech founder, but they want their careers to bend and flex around their personal lives, making sure they still have time for those unstructured road trips and sprawling brunch events.
Let's wrap this up with Section 5, the new cultural exchange.
It really is the ultimate question, isn't it? Why are these specific 12 habits spreading so successfully, piercing through diverse and incredibly proud European cultures, from the cafes of Paris to the streets of Stockholm, and from Warsaw all the way down to Lisbon?
The most important takeaway here is that we really need to stop calling it simple Americanization. That term implies that Europeans are just passively accepting a foreign culture and erasing their own. But that is absolutely not what the data shows. Because of modern globalization, culture travels faster than ever. But when it lands, it gets redesigned. Put simply, American concepts are being thrown into a giant European blender. Europeans are taking the American road trip, to sprawling big box store, or the iced takeaway coffee, and they're adapting it to fit their own centuries-old local traditions. The result isn't purely American, and it isn't purely traditional European either. It becomes this totally unique mixture, a distinctly European version of an American idea.
It proves that globalization is a wildly dynamic, two-way street where foreign concepts eventually evolve, settle down, and become entirely new, completely normal local traditions.
Culture never stops moving, and it certainly never moves in just one direction. Europe gave America so many of its foundational traditions, from legal systems to its earliest coffee cultures. And now, America is sending its own hyper-convenient, highly personalized modern habits right back across the Atlantic. Which leaves us with this final, really exciting thought. What other American habits do you think Europeans will adopt next? I would love to hear your thoughts, so please leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep exploring the world around you, and I will see you next time.